The Apostle Paul's first letter to Timothy was written from Macedonia about 61 to 64 CE. Paul indicates that Timothy was in Ephesus at the time. Paul wrote 1 Timothy to set out organizational procedures in the congregation and to warn against false teachings and the love of money. 1 Timothy has 6 chapters. In chapter 1, Paul encourages Timothy to remain in Ephesus so that he may correct those who have deviated from Christ's teachings. Paul also expresses gratitude for Christ's great mercy. Even though Paul had persecuted the Christian congregation, Jesus considered him faithful by assigning him to a ministry. In chapter 2, Paul mentions the need to pray for others, including government officials, so that God's people can lead a calm life and pursue their ministry in peace. He explains that it is God's will that all sorts of people should be saved and come to an accurate knowledge of truth. In chapter 3, Paul outlines the spiritual qualifications for those reaching out to serve as overseers or ministerial servants. Did you know? The Greek verb translated reaching out means stretching to grasp something. The apostle thus shows that brothers who want to serve others in the congregation should exert themselves. Paul writes in chapter 4 that a time will come when some will fall away from the faith and try to mislead others. These apostates will speak lies and even forbid marriage. He encourages Timothy to be a fine example in speaking, in conduct, and in love. Timothy should continue applying himself to public reading and to teaching. In chapter 5, Paul counsels Timothy to treat older men as fathers, younger men as brothers, older women as mothers, and younger women as sisters. He explains to Timothy that, if necessary, the congregations are to provide material aid to elderly widows who are truly in need and have a reputation for fine works. In chapter 6, the apostle states that those who teach things contrary to Christ's teachings are puffed up with pride. Paul also mentions that those who are determined to be rich fall into temptation and a snare and many harmful desires. Their love of money will lead to their spiritual ruin and cause them many pains. Instead of being greedy, Christ's followers should be generous and ready to share, putting their trust in God so that they may get a firm hold on the real life. As you read 1 Timothy, note how Jehovah wants all sorts of people to be saved and come to an accurate knowledge of truth, how Christians can avoid the love of money, and how we can get a firm hold on the real life, which only God's kingdom can give us.